And good evening, everyone. ESS, Empire State Sports, proudly presents the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. Your host tonight, Joey Ream, Dave Bartlett, myself, Pete Goslar, our special guest from Massena, a longtime boys varsity basketball coach, Mr. Tom Miller. Coach, welcome to the program.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to turn it over to Joey. He's going to get things going with you. Here we go.
All right, Coach. Thanks for joining us tonight. We've kind of been in this little Massena Malone stretch. We had Timmy Courier on last week, Timmy LeMay, Mark Flick about a couple weeks before that, longtime Malone girls assistant coach. So we had to finish with the king, though. We had to finish with Coach Miller, and we'll definitely dive into those Massena days. But why don't we do what we do with every show? First off, we'll get into your preparation, your assistant coach at SLU, and how is COVID dealing with your team right now, and what you're able to do, and your outlook.
Well, we're
for
kind
the
of in a holding pattern right now. Our season ended last year at the last week of February, and we haven't seen any of our players since then. St. Lawrence went to a 3-semester schedule, and all of our players chose the second and third semesters. So they're going to be with us from January 1st on. So we haven't had any contact physically with anybody on our team, which is very difficult and quite unusual. And so we're kind of just hoping that things go smoothly enough at St. Lawrence this fall so that we're able to have some kind of schedule starting a little bit after Christmas.
Any surprises along the way? I mean, I don't know how this has been working for, obviously your situation sounds a little different than some of the other college coaches that we've talked to. So any surprises along the way where this situation kept a kid from coming back or impacted a freshman coming in or anything like that?
Well, it's obviously recruiting is a little bit tougher than normal because of what's going on. As far as the freshmen, it's really hurts not being there right now preseason with the players, because that's where the staff gets to know the incoming freshmen. And obviously I know Andy Downs because his relationship with Chris, but the 3 other freshmen, I don't really have a relationship with them yet, which is tough. We've had Zoom meetings, but it's not the same doing a Zoom meeting as it is watching them play pickup or doing some preseason stuff with them. We've also had one player, Andrew Getschichter, who played a lot of minutes for us last year. He decided to opt out of this year because of the circumstances. And he's going to return to St. Lawrence next fall, but he just, with everything going on, with the possibility of a smaller schedule, he just didn't want to, and he wanted the college experience. He didn't want to, take that year and he wanted a normal year. So, things are tough, but everybody's in the same boat. I mean, all the colleges are doing some things differently, I think, but everybody has the same unusual set of circumstances, and these are tough times right now for everybody.
So go ahead, Dave. So Tom, when you guys get back after Christmas time, is there a plan right now in place for the Liberty League?
As of right now, because the plans seem to change every 2 or 3 weeks. So
being an athletic director.
Yeah. As it stands right now, we plan on having our kids December 26th, and we hope the Liberty League scheduled first or second week of January. So number one, that doesn't give us a lot of time with our kids. Normally we'd have from October 15th to late November. Now we're going to have the day after Christmas until like the first or second week of January. So we're only going to have the league schedule is concerned. I think instead of having an 18-game league schedule, I think we're going to play some teams twice and we're going to cross over and play a different part of the league, or some different teams once. So it's just probably right at.
Now, have you and the coaching staff, I obviously you've probably been talking, but some of the things that have been going through my head, and now that I finally get to see as a athletic director, seeing my game plan for if we have a basketball season in high school,
Which is really,
again, that
it's up in the air, correct?
Well, yeah, they're totally up in the air. But the thought process is if we do have one, again, a late start, probably not a ton. I have literally not been with my kids just as long as you haven't. I played in the blue and orange tournament in early March, and I haven't seen my kids other than walking in the hall because I can't have open gyms. I can't even let them in the gym to shoot on their own. So, as a staff, are you guys talking like, things are gotta, I assume things are gotta, you can't have a 45-page playbook or anything like that this year.
We talked quite a bit as a staff, with Chris, myself, Riley, Clariel, our grad assistant, and Mark Vickelhoff. Well, I mean, you're not going to have a lot of time to change things really offensively and defensively than you did last year. Fortunately, we only lost one senior, so we have a large number of returning players that know our system. But as far as changing the system on either side of the ball, offensively or defensively, I really can't see how you can make a lot of changes. And that includes even at your level at the high school. I mean, with the limited time that you've seen your players and the time that you're going to have from when you have them you play your first game is a very short time period. So it's going to be tough to change a lot of things.
So Coach, when you retired from Massena, I did hear the answer. Did you seek this out? Did Chris come to you? Were you going into retirement thinking, hey, I'm retired and I won't be in basketball at all? Or how did this all come about that you ended up at SLU?
Chris recruited two of my Massena players to St. Lawrence. Garrett Charlo played there for 4 years, had a pretty decent career. And then after Garrett was done, Brady Conlon played there. So, I was really familiar with Chris, and we'd become friends, coaching friends for quite some time. After I retired, I knew the end was done at Massena. And my wife still works. She works at Clarkson. So, and I'm not going to sit at home all day. So 2016, and Chris reached out, willing to come aboard St. Staff and help him out and do the college game. It's been a great ride. It's a lot of fun. I learned a lot from Coach Downs every day and practice, and it's a different level. And it's still just basketball, but it's a different level. It's quicker, it's faster, they're stronger. The scouting and the film breakdown is much more in depth, but it's very enjoyable, and it's a lot of fun, and keep me on. Hopefully you'll keep me around a few more years.
Is there anything specific that you're in charge of?
It's changed from year to year. Like my first few years, I did all the specials. I did the sideline out of bounds and the baseline out of bounds, and a few of the specialty plays. And then when Dauber left, I kind of tinkered more so with the defensive end of it. It gives me a lot of responsibility, which I appreciate. And at the end of the day, we're all on the same page, and he's the boss. The hard thing is, the hardest thing for me to get used to was, I was the head coach for 30 plus years. All of a sudden, you're not the head chef anymore. You're the sous chef. And which is where I want to be at this point in my life. I don't want to be the head guy, but it's a change, and I enjoy it. And Chris gives me a lot of responsibility.
Are you involved much in the scouting and recruiting end?
Film breakdown. I mean, they have a program in St. Lawrence where I can get on the internet and get on this one site, and I can get, like, for the past year, and we can just click on their games, and I can go to any game I need to watch. I can watch, and then they also do offensive break and defensive breakdowns and certain individual player, but it wasn't high school. I mean, high school, you go see a game, you take notes, and you do the film. You go home and you break it down yourself. But with this program, like everything is broken down for you, and you can see their tendencies against the zones, their tendencies against man-to-man, and it's really quite a program. And the depth that we do it is a lot more so than it was at the high school level. And I did a lot of film breakdown at the high school.
Pretty technical.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like in scouting, like Joey, I mean, we see each other in each other's gym all the time. In college, you don't really have the opportunity to go on the road for 6 or 7 hours on a Wednesday night down to Vassar or Bard or Skidmore to see them play, because everybody plays the same nights. And so with this site, it's really easy for everybody to scout each other and really get film on each other.
Yeah, film has really brought has advanced the game immensely, and it's creeping into the high school side, Tom, as you've left it now. I mean, I've really dove into I've always had film of my games, email it to the kids, and I can talk with the kids. Him and I, a certain kid and I can just watch the film together if we want. So the extent of the film breakdown is it's amazing where it's come from. Thinking back to when you took a team to the state Final Four in 1989, I'm assuming you didn't have those.
We had the
those
old
capabilities.
VCR where you push, rewind, right? Push, rewind, right? I mean, talking a long time ago. But the thing that amazes me about this program is, like, if I wanted to look at, say, Toby Riome's last 9 games against his zone, it would chart. I could see film on all of his shots against, say, a 2-3 zone. And whether they're catch and shoot, whether they're spot up, whether they're off the dribble. I mean, it just breaks it down like you would believe. Yeah.
That's pretty. Now that's pretty deep. That's really getting it.
Yeah.
Deep. Wow.
Compared
from the technology standpoint, it took me a while to get used to it, because I'm not great with technology. And the first couple of years, I kind of struggled when he gave me a job or responsibility. Hey, why don't you break this, the Skidmore 2-3 zone down? Give me some clips of it. Well, I'm getting a little bit better at it. I'm an old timer, but I'm getting a little bit better at it.
Back in our day, the film was that you had to remember what the guy did last time you played against him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The eye test, I still believe in the eye test, though.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you got to have, you have the film, you have the analytics, you have the stats, but the eye test is still a big thing for me.
Totally agree. I still, I as I get older, it's slowing down, but I always try to see my opponent at least once.
Yeah.
In person, live. I mean, that's the goal. See him once, get a feel, and then go from there. But
there were many nights that my wife, I went scouting when I was at Massena or Indian River, and my wife's like, why do you want to go see them play? You've already scouted them once. I said, well, you want to see them 2 or 3 times, or sometimes 4 times, because there's always something to catch.
Oh, without a doubt. Well, I'm sure some of my fellow coaches get sick of seeing me, because there's just some certain teams you single out. You got a feeling you're going to see them down the line. You want to see them as much as you can against, you might see them one night against a team that's going to play, nothing but 2-3 zone against them. I need to see him against man to man, so I got to go watch him again.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Well, Coach, so that covers what you've been doing now with SLU, but why don't you give people a little breakdown of your full coaching career, where you started, where go back to where you went to school, went to college, and your coaching career from there, and we'll kind of feed off of that.
We're going way back here, Joe. Carthage Central grad, 1977. Went to SUNY Brockport for 4 years, graduated in 81. And actually, my claim to fame at Brockport was my junior year, my suite mate was Stan Van Gundy. And, he coached in the NBA for a while. And that's when I was at Brockport in 80. Jeff Van Gundy actually played high school at Brockport. And then he went to Nazareth, to play D3. But the Bill Van Gundy was the coach at Brockport at the time. So I left Brockport in 81, and my first coaching job was doing the Hammond JVs in 1981, 82 for Tom Chapman, who just recently passed away. And at the end of that season, I got my first real teaching job, teaching phys ed and coaching JV basketball at Knox Memorial. I was at Knox Memorial from 82 to 86. I thought I knew everything, and I had a great mentor in Dick Harmer, Brian Harmer's dad, and he was a fantastic mentor for me. I learned a lot from him, and I did JVs for 4 years. And in 86, Knox Memorial merged with Edwards and became Edwards Knox, and I got the first varsity basketball coaching position there. And I stayed at Edwards Knox from 86 to 92, and we had that one really good year in 88, 89. We went to the Final Four in Glens Falls and lost by 3 points to the eventual state champion. So that was a pretty good accomplishment. And I left EK in 92 and I went to Indian River. And that was at a time where Indian River was really expanding because of Fort Drum. And they had beautiful facilities. They had unlimited resources as far as money, because they're mostly federal funded, not state funded. Because 92 to 99, and in 94, 95, we won the section 3 Class B title. We beat Syracuse Corcoran in a big upset, and we almost made it back to Glens Falls that year. We got beat by Amsterdam in the semifinals, the quarterfinals before the semifinals. And I kind of got tired of driving down. At the time, I was living in Canton because my wife worked at Clarkson. And so I made the drive from Canton to Indian River on a daily basis, and that got old in a hurry. I mean, Route 11, I had to leave at 6:15, 6:30 in the morning. And if I had a late practice or a game, I had to get home at 9 or 10 at night. And so the opportunity arose in Massena. Doug Huntley was the superintendent at Massena. So I got the Massena job in 99, and I've been at Massena ever since until I retired in 2016. Very fortunate to work with some great staffs, which is very loyal. It had tremendous administrative support, and I had great parental support. And I mean that's a recipe for success when you have those three things. So that brought me right up to 2016, and I had taught for 34 years, and when it's time to get out. I just had enough, and Brandon Downs doing a nice job at Massena, and Timmy Courier was still there, and it was time for me to leave and retire and go into the next phase of my life.
Well, I'm glad you brought up those Indian River days. I didn't know that you'd won a Class B sectional championship down there. Those are the things that we like to get out of somebody, because maybe some people, we all look at, I forgot about those Indian River years. Right. So, and to think that you made that drive every day for 7 years.
7 years. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, during that time period, I have two daughters, and they were young at the time. And I would leave in the morning and they would be sleeping, and I would come home at night and they would be sleeping. And it was tough. It was tough. I would go a week and a half without actually seeing them, except for the weekends. Another big perk during my time at Indian River, I got to coach the Empire State Games for for 2 years, and the second year that I coached, that we won gold medal. So that was pretty good experience also.
So would that have been like the Section 3 area kids?
That was all the Syracuse area, from Watertown down to Syracuse. And it's too bad they got rid of the Empire State Games. They were really, it's like a mini Olympics for New York State for the youth. Obviously the budget problems prevented them from continuing. And they do a pretty good job of the Bikini Games. Now, the year that we won a gold medal, I had like probably 5 kids from the Syracuse area that were Division I players, so they were really fun to coach. And we played a kid named Benny Gordon. Benny Gordon played in the NBA. He played at UConn. Remember that? Yeah, Benny Gordon played at UConn. He played in the NBA for the Bulls and the Pistons. And during the Empire State Games, he played for the city team. And he was phenomenal. He was unreal.
Held him down.
Yeah, we held him down. Another guy that, getting back to some really good players that I had an opportunity to coach against is we one year at Massena during a state region.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we held Jimmer Fredette that night to about 45. So he was a great player too. It was a lot of fun. And I owe a lot of my success to the people who have helped me and along the way. And Timmy was great. My staff's been great. The administration has been great. Doug Huntley was a tremendous superintendent at Massena for a lot of years. And he was very athletically supportive of everything that we tried to do.
Well, Coach, so when you got to Massena in 1999, you jump right into a division where you're dealing. I wrote these names down because I was guessing that was about the time frame that you got there. So you're jumping right in to deal with Bill Myrna, Steve K-Mac, George. Get enough air there.
Bob had a lot of. Yeah.
Bob is my boss right now, and I haven't asked him to come on this show because I'm waiting for him to retire, and then I'm gonna ask him to come on the show. But Bob Stewart won 4 Class C championships in a row from the Central Division. Obviously, Timmy LeMay, and then who would have been coaching Canton at that time? Was Larry Jennings still there?
Who we had left. And
right.
Billy Porter Larry Jennings was there for a year or two. I think Larry was at Canton when I was at Indian River.
Yeah.
And then Larry left Canton, and I think Billy Porter for most of the years at Canton was the coach. And a few years in there, I think Henry LeQueer may have done it.
Yep.
But those were some really fun battles. I mean, you throw, Myrna obviously is a legend. K-Mac is K-Mac. He's legendary.
Mm-hmm.
George Gordon, he was a great coach. And Stewie at Norwood, he had a lot of really, really good teams, and people don't realize they were in this, like you mentioned, they were in the Central. And I tell you, they had Josh Charlo, and they had I think Ricky Bond, and they had really, really good players. And Central was really tough back then. It was good. It was fun. I think.
That I think we were. I look back and look at all the coaches that when I was a player that I played against, and there's the camaraderie is there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I remember our first big game Indian River back in like '93. We're playing in Watertown in front of a packed house, and they ended up beating us by 4 or 5 points. And I was staying in Watertown that evening because at the time I spent, so the game at the time was a couple of years. He looked at me like I was crazy. Like, we like, if maybe you guys don't do that down here. I mean, that's typical. That's typical for Section 10. I mean,
Yeah.
A number one place back in the day.
Yeah. Oh, you can't replicate those days, Joe, as you know.
No.
I mean, those were great days. Those a lot of fun, a lot of memories, a lot of characters, but it was good.
You're absolutely right. It was, and it's something that as Dave was saying, the officials, our media, it's just one big group. And Carl and the staff, we've talked about the crew stood at the doors at City Hall for 40 years. To think how tight the Section 10 group is in basketball and in the tournament is something else. So and you were a big part of that.
I appreciate it. In Section 10, I mean, it's been pretty darn competitive in the last 10, 15 years too. If for on the state level, I mean, we can hang, but
we talked
Section 10 is
about that
basketball.
with Timmy LeMay last week. That view is 2-18, and the other one's 18-2. It seems that every year the Class A game would come down to the fourth somewhere in the.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in both years in game. We've upset them. It's a tough game, but I mean, there's really nothing else you can do because there's only 2 teams, and we know each other so well. And if you end up winning both regular season games, which you obviously want to win them, but it's something. I mean, come on. That last game is from coaching standpoint, it's tough.
So as they say, that's one of the hardest things to do is beat a team the third time.
Tricks up his sleeve, and myself also, we try to do things a little bit differently the third game, but the kids know each other so well. It's a tough game, and I tell you another really tough game was, if you're lucky enough to win the Class A game, is that first crossover game. Because it seemed like every year we get matched up with Chateauguay, and Chateauguay is like really good. I mean, I know they're a Class D team. We're a Class A. We're supposed to win, but they're very, very good. And even more to the States, but you still want to win the overall. And Chateauguay, I tell you what, great program. They bring it. They bring it.
Well, when you bring up something too that I didn't bring up with Tim, but we kind of forget that you two guys are A schools, and sometimes you got that target on your back. Well, hey, we just beat an A school, and have that, that you're gonna say, hey, we just beat Malone. I know I do it when I have the joy of beating you guys. So
absolutely.
So I couldn't imagine walking around with that on my shoulders every game I coached, anytime we're playing a C or a D school.
It's tough. I mean,
back in
from a coaching standpoint, you understand it completely. completely, but relaying that message to your players, sometimes depending on the team you have, can be difficult. I mean, the year Chateauguay won the state championship, their only loss was we could do to beat them that year.
Yeah. I broadcast that game. I remember doing that game, and to win. I didn't think that Chateauguay had no chance, but it's just, hey, this is Chateauguay in Massena. There's a big. This is an A versus a D here. It's a big deal. So
yeah.
And
we felt the same way, Joe, going into the most of the state games. And the only problem is the years that we were really good in Massena, I had one or two maybe good Division III players, and the teams that were playing had Division I players. I mean, as good as we weren't beating them.
And Tom, I've seen. I only saw it happen to you once, and I was there because I had played in front of you at Lake George down in Saratoga. Oh my gosh, when and my team put up a fight, we were in that game, and I'm drained, and I said, no, we got to stick around. We're going to watch Massena for the first quarter.
That was over.
Ooh,
Joe, thanks for bringing that up. That was over after about 3 minutes into the game. I'm
like, oh,
that Scotia team was phenomenal. Yeah, led by Joe Cremo, who ended up playing at Albany, and he ended up playing at Villanova, I think, his grad year. So we got absolutely smoked that game. And there were a lot of years we played teams to win, and they got like DeLong, Coleman, Brandon, Trish. That's the way it goes.
Yeah. And so, and this again, this wasn't something I asked Tim either the other night. So when you knew, all right, hey, we won the A's, did you guys, I know you want to win the Section 10 championship, but did you put not more pressure on yourself, but was that a real focus? Because hey, probably making it to the state Final Fours in the A's is a pipe dream here. So trying to win the Section 10 championship, does that become really big in the forefront for you guys?
If you're at just the coach winning the overall, typically that's the end point for us, and you want to be the best team in Section 10. Now, what I tell my kids that we don't have a chance to probably win a state game, I don't really want to relay that message to them.
Yeah. But I wouldn't do that either. But in my mind, if I was coaching Massena or Malone, win the A game, I want to win that Section 10 championship. It's not happened to you, Timmy, the last couple of years with really good teams, and just it's over as soon as the ball is tipped. And it's not a knock on Timmy's team. It's not a knock on your tean. It's just that's how the gap in the A's between Northern New York and the rest of the state. So
and I remember in '89 at Edwards Knox, when we went to the Final Four, we played Potsdam in the overall game. That's what Steve was coaching Potsdam, and we got down we were down maybe 10, 12 points with like 3 or 4 minutes left. And I just said, that's it. Because I didn't want to get anybody hurt, because I knew we had a chance realistically to go to Glens Falls. So being a smaller school, then I pulled the plug a little bit. But this is probably over after that.
Well, Coach, we've talked a lot about your career, and it culminates in making the New York State Hall of Fame. And how was that for you? And that whole situation, but it must have been an honor that you were pretty proud of.
You never think about it while you're coaching. I saw Coach Howard go into the Hall of Fame, and I was there when Coach Murrow went in. I think maybe somewhere in the back of your mind thinking, yeah, this is pretty neat. Maybe someday, if I'm lucky, I would get nominated. But it was really a surreal experience. I mean, I went in with Jerry Metcalf went in that year, and he was my coach at Carthage. I played 1 year at Carthage. I didn't play 2 or 3 years, but he was my coach for 1 year. And my good friend Pat Bassa also went in that year. So, going in with those two guys meant a lot. As you reflect back in your career, all the long hours you put in and the hard work and the scouting trips and the sacrifices made by your family. It was pretty neat. I mean, it was fun.
Well, and it got done in Glens Falls, and poor Pete, we can't see Pete right now, but I know I just mentioned Glens Falls, and he's sad now because we ended up missing out on Glens Falls this year, and right now it's starting to look bleak for
Now, Joe,
next
had
year
you gone
already.
to Binghamton, or was it in Binghamton or not?
I did go all 3 years. Yes.
Now, I've never experienced Binghamton. It wasn't the same.
It's not.
Right.
It just wasn't the same. I mean, Binghamton tried, but it just wasn't the same. The venue, it was a nice stadium, but the one thing I missed about the stadium that I think we all loved about the Civic Center in Glens Falls and watch, you could do that. At this place, you had to sit. I mean, it was more of a stadium venue.
Right.
And then the downtown area was too spread out, and it just wasn't Glens Falls. Just not the same.
There's nothing like Glens Falls.
To think, we finally got it back there this week.
Yeah.
We were going to be there within 2 weeks too. So
right. I went through all the years I went to Glens Falls. I went through different phases. My first started going to Glens Falls to watch games. I went, with Brian Harmer and Pat Bassett and Chris Mazzella, my buddies, and then I went through a phase where don't laugh at this. I went through a phase where I took my wife and my kids, and that phase lasted about a year or two. And then, and then there actually was a phase where I took some of the Massena players because I wanted the Massena players to experience, what the Final Four was all about. So we take some players and they stay in their own rooms. That was fun. It was good for them. They had a good experience. And then I finally ended it going back with just my buddies. So I've been through all phases of Glens Falls.
Completely same thing. I mean, near the end of Toby's career, I was bringing all of Toby's we had aspirations to understand this year, but it's going to be tough.
I went through a couple of phases too. The first year I went, I watched a lot of basketball games, and then
I think I know where you're going with it.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, some years I'd watch a lot of games. Some years, you try to make as many as you can.
After having gone down and not seen one game.
I know more than a few people, Dave, that can say that same. So
the time got away from me.
Yeah, I hear you.
One pocket hoops in your local establishments. In Glens Falls is always usually the same week of the first weekend of the tournament for NCAAs. So I mean, it's just basketball crazy.
Yeah. He always had Big George Gordon setting up in his corner out there with Timmy Knowlton. And there were times that we used to go out with George and Timmy to what's that place in steak place up the road. The Log Jam. The Log Jam is up near the outlets. Watching Big George down a 30-ounce prime rib with something. Oh. But yeah, Section 10 always had their guys, and so it's just amazing. You had your little spots down there, and a lot
Yeah,
of fun.
without
Yeah, Pete says the log jam right there on Route 9.
Yeah, great
Route
food.
9.
Great food.
Well, Coach, we got about 10 minutes left, and before we go, I'll give you one last chance. We'll talk about we had Timmy Curry, all the years that you ran those basketball camps at Massena and any of the other camp for 16 years, and really set that. I think Brandon's kept it going the last
Yeah.
few years.
Yeah. I mean, basketball camps are. It used to be back in the early '80s. Camps was Charlie Folsom at Harrisville, and he started doing it back in the late '70s and early '80s. And it used to be if you did a camp, you were much more competitive than the other schools you played in, and you get a lot better. Now you almost have to do a camp just to stay up with people. I remember in the early days going to Toby Hanna camp. You're like this one. The very first basketball camp I went to in 1982 was to Toby Hanna, Pennsylvania, with Jerry Howard Hanna and a guy named Joe Jubinville down there 44 solid straight weeks in this one. And we ran the Massena camp for 15 and 50 in the afternoon. I remember Toby used to come over to the camp, and again, I don't know if the camp scene is still the same as it was in the past. I mean, obviously with the COVID stuff going on and the pandemic, and Grover and Bridger, how are they been?
Well, I haven't had it. I did it the last 3 or 4 years, but I know Chateauguay. I coached there for 4 years, and their numbers
Really?
have been great every year. I've been involved in Missy West's basketball camp the last couple of years, and she's had good numbers. So I think it's there.
Right.
I still think that there's a spot for the camps that, because I think the thought is that AAU took a lot of the people away from camps because they'd rather go, I can escape a basketball, especially in the North Country. A lot of the schools had their own, obviously Potsdam State, St. Lawrence, for the colleges. So
yeah, our numbers, we didn't have a camp obviously this past summer at St. Lawrence, but the numbers are pretty good. Getting back, one quick story in Hooley. So we go out a Tuesday night, and we go to this place called the Swiftwater Inn, and Joe goes, make sure you have a couple bucks with you. I said, well, I think I got like 25, 30 bucks in my pocket. He goes, no, you only need a couple bucks. I said, what do you mean I only need a couple bucks? He goes, well, it's like 10-cent draft night. So we could drink all night.
Good, responsible coaches right there.
It's just they work hard and play hard. You know that, Joe.
Absolutely. You're talking about my coach. I mean, he coached me, so he taught me, because that's the way that's the way I would have done it too. So well, Coach, Pete's kind of frozen up, and he wants for coming on, figuring this out tonight so that you could come on and we always love talking to our basketball coach and legends, and you certainly are one of them,
I don't
whether
know
you think so or
about
not.
that. I appreciate it, but thank you for having me. You know, I've watched a few of your shows. I watched Scotty's when you've done a great job. And I think you getting the exposure out to people about all the good things that are going on in Northern York and the good coaches we have up here and the good programs and stuff. You guys do a great job. It's a pleasure being
thank
on.
you.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
So we're going to wrap it up here. All right.
Okay.
We'd like to thank Coach Tom Miller for joining us tonight on Wise tonight. Hopefully we can get that worked out for future. So good night from Joy Realm, myself, Dave Bartlett, and Pete Goslaw. As Pete would say, stay safe.
Stay safe. Thanks, guys.